Hey guys, welcome to the final episode of the Podghast for this year. I am your host, Sean, and today I am joined by our other co-founder, Mags.
Hi.
You gonna introduce yourself?
I'm Mags, the other co-founder.
uh, yeah, she's gonna
I
have
told
some.
you there is going to be some brain farts, so
She's gonna have
expect
some nervous energy. So today we're gonna be discussing Menzies Castle from last year. Usually we start, so for you, because I don't know how much of the podcast stuff you've seen, we'll kind of go over things like the setup, how the setup for a location goes down, because obviously every location is a little bit different. Menzies Castle is massive.
Yeah.
It is massive, and you know, for setting up in a place like this, it can be tough. I mean, we can't even cover the entire place. It's that big. I mean, like what, 4 stories minimum? It's about
Yeah.
4 stories minimum, all the way up to the top where the nursery is, and then you've got all that kind of extension stuff at the back where there's that like big great hall. Remember this time we set up in that big great hall? We never really got
Yeah.
to do that place before. Place is absolutely massive. So for Menzies Castle, yeah, you know, requires a lot of forethought on wire placement because there's a spiral staircase and you'd think it'd be easy, but running wires up a spiral staircase is really difficult. Because if you run it on the outside, you're going to take up even more wire. If you run it on the inside, you're getting the point where it's a trip hazard.
And it was a trip hazard. I'm
y-
pretty sure
Uh,
somebody had a wee trip.
not this time that we went. So
Yeah.
that was the previous time where yes,
we learned from our
a
mistakes.
new team member who had just came out, unfortunately, and it wasn't even the wire; it was just the spiral staircase. Because what people
Yeah.
want to know is these stairs, when they used to build castles, they're not even, and they're intentionally not even, so that when someone attacks the place, if they're not used to the staircase,
Yeah.
they're probably going to fall on it, and it's pretty much point proven. I think that when someone new to the building comes in, they're all tripping up and down the staircase. Whereas
Yeah.
for us who have been there a good 4 or 5 times, you kind of get used to it. You know
Yeah.
that the stairs are uneven. So yeah, fun experience when you're having to run around and do a health and safety with everybody, and you're just like, careful on the stair, and then people start falling about the place. Which is the joys of doing ghost hunting in the pitch black.
Yep.
Yeah, no light source whatsoever other than a flashlight if you're lucky to have brought one. So yeah, like setup wise in Menzies Castle, it's takes a while. There's a lot of areas that you need to cover. Massive place. What do you think of Menzies?
I loved Menzies Castle. I just liked all the kind of features like in the bottom floor, like the kind of wee arch bits and you know the
Yeah.
kind of basementy areas.
Oh yeah, the cellars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the cellars. That's what I was looking for, and I'm pretty sure I captured a voice in
One of the
one
cellars.
of these cellars.
Yeah.
I can't remember if that was a previous time that we went.
I mean, maybe I don't like. Was this Tascam or was this camera?
I can't
the
remember. It
Tascam?
might have been the Tascam because I'm pretty sure I was listening on Lifetime,
Yeah.
and I'm sure I said, I'm sure I just heard something,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that when I reviewed it back, I was like, yep, there is something there,
Yeah.
but I can't remember.
The problem with the
What it
Tascam
is now.
stuff is like we have so much footage as it is to go through that like going through all the Tascam stuff as well and trying to include it in an episode can be like it's so much work that we actually I don't think included any Tascam stuff at all in any of these episodes just because you know the thing is running a team that's, you know, voluntary, everybody owns their own equipment.
Yeah.
So it's kind of difficult sometimes to get access to all the stuff when you're trying to make sure it can all be reviewed and included. So, you know, we're stuck in a position where you can only kind of include, you know, what you've got access to. One of the clips in this that we're gonna go over, there's a wee bit where I was with Mirren and Maxine and Kirsty were in the other room in the kitchen area.
Mm-hmm.
And I was chatting about the thermal phone because we just got a thermal phone. So it's a mobile phone with a built-in thermal imaging camera, but it also does night vision, which is great because if you need to run around and use that for filming, it's a 2K camera, really good for a mobile phone. And there's like these wee windows in the kitchen area. They're kind of like portholes, and I was just kind of laughing about how on the thermal camera the reflection on it was kind of weird. Like I can't remember if it was on the stonework. There was like it was kind of picking up the heat of us being in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a voice that to me sounded like it said stop. We'll obviously go over it and you can listen to it and see what you think.
Yeah.
But again, like when we are going out, like, you know, the golden rule,
Mm-hmm.
anytime there's a possibility of contamination, we don't tend to whisper at all. Like it's one of those kind of things, and it's kind of coming in the middle of the conversation between me and Mirren, and I was just listening to it and I was like, that's really, really out of place. Like I don't know why it says what it says, if it sounds like what I think it sounds like. It's just odd. It just kind of like creeped in the middle of us talking. And you know, like I said, Maxie and Kirsty are in a totally different room. And for like features, I suppose, like for kind of like context for folk watching this, it's like in that kind of area when you come in the main door, there used to be another spiral staircase that got removed. And as you come through the front door, so kind of all of this area was attached to the rest of the castle, but now you've got to come through the kitchen, the front door area, all the way through what essentially is the cellars, but it's not really the cellars. It's kind of the ground floor.
Yeah.
Because there is another door to the castle, but it's not the one that's used, and that's at the spiral staircase. So, like, I suppose it might be like more like the servant quarters, that door that we go in. Because for a feature, it doesn't really make sense why you'd bring your guests in right next to the kitchen, you know? So the actual access to the castle probably was up with the spiral staircases, but yeah, there's some kind of features of the castle that don't really exist anymore. So one of the things we like to talk about on the podcast is kind of like the hauntings and kind of like the details that we know about the castle. For us as a team, we will all do a conclusion at the end of this on what we think. And the kind of thing is we've done Menzies probably about like 5 times. I think for us as a team, at least in my opinion, like, because we'll do a conclusion at the end of the evidence review stuff, Menzies definitely has stuff going on. Like, do you remember we had the CCTV system set up and Kirsty was in a room on her own and she was doing a question session and it just sounds like somebody's whispering down the microphone of the camera. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Really weird. Like,
it wasn't her name said.
Yeah. And that's
she freaked out.
Yeah, because this is the thing is like the way our CCTV system works is every single individual camera has its own audio track. So it was coming through the camera.
Yeah.
And it's just really, really weird. It's like someone just going, Kirsty, into the camera microphone, which makes absolutely no sense because we are nowhere near this. Like, you know what I mean? And Kirsty's doing a question session. It's just weird. And then one of the other things that we got years ago, which I honestly wish I'd probably included it in the clips for tonight, but no point because this is more about the investigation that we did. But we had a really, really weird one where the new team member who kept falling up and down the stairs, they're not on the team anymore, so I'm not gonna like name drop. Not for any reason, they just didn't stick around and do any investigation. It wasn't really their thing. They were with one of our team members, Stuart Henderson, in a room and it sounds like a dog howling in the room. And literally both of them were just like, what the F was that? What was that? And I then went through footage of the night in other places and was kind of like, you don't hear it anywhere else. No other team reported that sound happening. And for like kind of context, Menzies Castle is a good distance from any other place. And as far as I remember, the old caretaker had a cat. It was a wild cat that kind of ended up living on the property, and he kind of just took it on as his pet. The new caretaker has dogs, but it was just weird. It was weird.
Yeah, but like in the pictures,
Yeah.
all these big paintings that are on the walls and stuff, there's these kind of hound
Scottish deerhounds.
dogs.
Yeah, massive dogs.
So, potentially it could have been
yeah. Because I would have
spirit
understood
dog.
I would have understood if other teams had also kind of heard it.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't any reports from anybody else, so it was just kind of a weird experience for them. And it's on the audio because we had a CCTV camera in the room. But the annoying thing is, like, it's such old footage now that the actual clip on the hard drive when I took it was pretty much frozen. You can only hear the audio, which is an absolute bummer. Like, you can see the picture of the room, but the actual file that I've got just for some reason doesn't work anymore. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of a bum. But yeah, it was just it's a weird experience. Like, I think another one for me was when I was up in the attic where the bats are. And the time that we had visited, there was a wedding that week, and the caretaker had set the whole place up for a wedding. Chairs, 6x6 running down the length of the attic, and he had like hung Scottish sage on the sides of the chair because they're really big in, especially at Menzies Castle, of like respecting the spirits. They're not into any of the kind of stuff of like cleansing the area and things like that, because for them it's the whoever still resides in that castle, it was their home. For anyone living in it now to be like off you shoot and try and do, if you believe in that stuff,
they
like cleanse,
embrace all the old energy that is in the building.
And it was really, really weird because and again, this is one of these really annoying ones where I had the 4K camera, if I'm right, and for some, I cannot find the file, or I couldn't find the file, or something happened that was just so inconvenient in the moment. But it was like, it sounded like one of the chairs get like dragged across the room. So again, for like context, I'm in a pitch black attic, and there's bats, right? But bats are incapable of dragging chairs, and it wasn't like a bat was flying about blind and bumped the chair and it went boom, boom. It was like a full on like across the floor, and I was just like sat there, and I'm pretty sure it was actually you and one of the other team members. Yous were in the nursery because the nursery is just outside in the stairwell, and I remember sitting there and going, guys, is there anybody out there? And you guys were like, yeah, what's up? And I'm like, do you guys have a walkie-talkie? And you're like, yeah, why? And I'm like, give me that walkie-talkie. I'm like, I am not sitting in this attic without a bloody walkie-talkie. And the CCTV camera we had on at the other side, and this is the unfortunate thing, it was the first night we'd ran the CCTV, and we hadn't realised when we set it up that there was continuous recording, and then there was recording if there was motion. So whenever the bats would fly nearby, the camera would start recording. So the moment that it happened, the camera wasn't recording because none of the bats had flown near the camera, which is really unfortunate. So even on CCTV, I couldn't get it. So in the previous episodes, we've talked about the difference between a personal experience and one that we can actually document. Personal experiences can be anything that was serious, but if there's no camera, we can't provide it to the public. So it's just a story. But I remember I got the walkie-talkie, and the team downstairs at the base camp had overheard me on the CCTV being like, give me that goddamn walkie-talkie. I'll sit in here, but I'm not sitting in here without a walkie-talkie, because whatever that was, hell no. And they then tried to give me a jump scare doing the walkie-talkie, and I was just like, I hate you guys. Like, do not do that. Like, because not a lot of folk at that time especially would do solo stuff. So this was kind of new for a lot of the members, and I was really like head first into just going, I'm going to go sit on my own. And it's always when I'm on my own, really weird experiences happen. And that one happened, and I'm pretty sure it was you and another member, and I'm like, give me a damn walkie-talkie. I'm not sitting in that attic on my own. I've never, like, because the only other things in that room was like a really heavy oak wooden table and like whiskey kegs, like barrels, and I'm just like,
it's a pretty cool space.
Yeah.
that it's quite a big space as well. So the fact that it's quite a big open space and there isn't really anything there whenever there is a noise, it's kind of amplified
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
space.
And there's nothing above this because it's the attic.
Yeah.
You know? Because when I'm talking about a nursery, it's like when you come out the door, there's a wee nursery a step up away, but you guys were in there. And I don't even think you guys had heard it
Yeah.
at
And then
the time.
the walls are quite thick as
Oh,
well,
yeah, it's a
so we
castle.
probably
I mean,
wouldn't
yeah.
hear a
And
noise from another
and the
room.
bats in there are like, they're no big things. If they're bumping into something, you'll hear the odd wee like boom. Nothing that sounds like wood dragging across wood. So for me, I was just like, God, man, it has to be when I'm sitting on my own that something like this is going to happen. So yeah, Menzies is. Oh God, we've probably got loads of stories for Menzies that are just.
We got some cool camera footage of the bats as well on the CCTV.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kept swooping
down
down on the cameras,
IR.
and you were like getting a close up of the bats. It was pretty
It's
cool.
because of the IR light, so they'll probably. I don't know if it'll be because of the heat. Maybe I don't.
Yeah.
I don't understand the anatomy of bats all that well to understand exactly what they can see and how they work. But these cameras produce a lot of heat.
Yeah.
They've got so many because our CCTV cameras, it's the lens surrounded completely with IR light, so that's going to generate a lot of heat. And I don't know if bats are able to see infrared light, probably.
Yeah.
Because I mean, bats aren't like, as much as people think they're blind, I don't actually think they're blind. It's just their vision's really poor. They pick up differently than we do, obviously.
They tend to hang about where street lighting and stuff is because the bugs are attracted to the street lights, so they can easily pick off bugs.
That makes a lot of sense. And the thing is as well, like the bats at Menzies, they kind of migrate in and out. They don't live there all year because they'll even have like quite rare birds that nest on the castle. So the time that we showed up recently, the caretaker was like, hey guys, listen, I'm not going to be putting on the outdoor floodlights when you come because we've actually got a couple of, and I can't remember the birds. He's like, but they nest above where the floodlights are. And he's like, and we are really big into not disturbing the wildlife and I think that's what's really cool and unique about the place is just the attitude of the folk that actually caretake for the place. Like they're just, I think it's a good attitude to have. But yeah, what we'll do is we'll have a wee gander at the clips. We'll have a chat about them, and then we'll go on from there.
Yeah, sure.
So if we could start with the first clip, please.
Coming through the shape of the wall. Bit terrifying stuff.
So you could hear the whisper, right?
At the very end.
Yeah, it's like kind of like 3/4 way through. Just to clarify for folk who watch this, by the way, me and Mags never agree on audio. Ever.
Apart from one time.
Yeah, but even then.
Aye. No, I thought I heard something right at the very end.
You couldn't hear the whisper? Okay, so we'll play it one more time.
I thought I heard something right at the very end.
It's not at the end. See what I mean? This is what I mean. It's like, I bet I play this.
It sounded like a mumble.
Oh, yeah.
I thought I heard a mumble right at the very end.
Nope, it's not it.
Right, so when it happens,
I'll point.
Do something.
Right, cool.
Coming through the shape of the wall. Bit terrifying stuff.
No. I heard something at the very end, just before the clip was cut.
Okay.
Right at the very end.
So,
it sounds like a mumble. It sounds like a female voice.
Yeah, that'd be Maxie and Kirsty in the other room.
No, they were right there, and this sounded like it was further away.
So they're in the other room. So to clarify, when I cut this, obviously I'm just trying to cut a little period between where the noise happens. So
for me, it was hard because it sounded like feet scuffing on the floor.
Do you think it sounded like a foot scuffing? Yeah. See, originally I thought it was stop. It's like stop. It was just really weird for where it happened, and to point, we're not moving away at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm no dragging my feet as I turn or
Yeah.
anything like that. So I knew this one was going to be an interesting episode because you and me struggle when it comes to this.
Sometimes I need to hear things on repeat, on loop, before I can actually catch it. Because I'm like, I'm trying to pinpoint exactly where it is, and there's so many sounds going on, and I'm trying to focus in on the sound I'm supposed to be hearing.
So I think this is going to be the kind of fun thing with this one. It's just that, like, I knew coming in that you'd probably struggle with what I put forward as the evidence when I done my review.
Yeah.
Now, Zara, just for clarification for folk watching, one of our founders is sitting behind the cameras over here, and she's like, oh yeah, I could hear the whisper. Now, she can't tell what it's saying, which is fair enough. I just thought it was kind of odd in that moment because for context of the conversation with me and Mirren talking, we're both talking about the reflection of the IR camera, the thermal on the little port window, which is why the 4K camera's facing that way. And I actually remember I went through it and listened on the phone as well, and it also picks it up. So I do have two different audio sources of the same thing.
Is there any chance we could play it for a third time?
Okay, we'll play it one more time.
Try and pinpoint this. Now that you've told me it says stop,
you might hear it.
I might hear it.
It's what I think anyway.
Coming through the shape of the wall. Bit terrifying.
Yeah, I got it. Right, so it's right after a foot
hear the
scuffing.
scuff, yeah.
So I hear a scuff and it's right after. Got it.
I think it's funny because I'm wondering if it's just the way audio processes for you. You like listen to each bit like really regimented, like I must focus here. Now I must focus here. Now I must focus here. And then eventually you get the bit, there it is.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's anytime I'm reviewing, if I feel that there might be something in there, I'll listen to it on a loop.
Yeah.
And then I'll have it repeat several times.
Yep.
Because I'm trying to pinpoint exactly where it is, and I'm trying to separate it from the other
the rest
sounds.
of the sounds, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Again, when I listened to it on the other one, I think it sounded more clear on the thermal phone, and it sounded like someone saying stop. I don't know if that is what's being said. It's there's a whisper that comes in when the two of us are having a normal conversation about this window, and you hear as soon as I stop talking and we move, Mirren's talking at a normal pitch, so I don't know why she would have been down here like and then brought it back up without going, oh sorry, that was me, I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
Maxine and Kirsty are talking in the other room at normal volume, so it was just a weird one. I don't know. I'm not gonna be like, oh, that's a ghost. It was just a bit odd when I heard it because I reviewed it on two different places and I was like, okay, that's a bit weird.
Yeah. And what would it be telling you to stop?
See, I can't even remember the full context. I think I was having a laugh about, like I said, the picture on the thermal imaging camera of like the reflection in the window, because I was going up to it and I was like, that's really funny. Like when you look at it, because it was the first time we had the thermal phone. We all, I will admit, had a bit of a hoot in Menzies Castle, because first time we used the thermal phone. So anytime people were sitting on benches, as soon as they'd get up, you'd see their bum out in print, and we're always like, check this out, hey. And you'd be like, did one of you guys put your hand on that glass there? Yeah, it was me. How do you know? I can see your bloody handprint. It's right there. Like, we were all having a wee bit of a hoot with it. It was the first time we had a thermal imager that we could just run a bit and go, I can see your bum. Yeah. It's like a wee hoot. But we'll jump into the second clip and we'll see what we have.
Just knock or make a noise when I come to the right number. 1, 2, 3.
So
they all just went.
Yeah, like this room, I will say, is this the one that they call the poltergeist room? Right, so this place is nicknamed. Yeah, that one is. You know, you can talk. Ah, that is the one. Yeah.
Yeah. The hill.
People might. People won't probably hear you all that well, but so Zara was pointing out that this is definitely the place that we got the howl in, and I do actually remember based on the image because none of the furniture's changed in this room. Right, it's left the way it is.
Exactly the same.
Wardrobe, little chair in the corner, bed. And yeah, so this is the one that they call the poltergeist room. So the full context, because just where I cut it, was Kirsty was going, I would like to know how many spirits are here. Can we do like, I'll count up. So she goes 1, 2, 3, bump. But the actual bump where they all look, they're like, that was the wardrobe. They were like, that was the wardrobe. So it kind of freaked them out a wee bit. And this room was like, it even got to the point where Maxine got so uncomfortable because where I eventually positioned myself was further around by the bed, and I'm filming all three of them from an angle facing Mirren and Kirsty. And eventually Maxine goes, listen, I'm not sitting where I'm sitting anymore, because she was close to where the little toilet bit was in the staircase. She moves over to the fireplace and she sits and goes, right, I'm good. She's like, I'm not sitting over there anymore because like
her back was exposed.
Like she kept like getting, I've put it in the video for like sake of people seeing it. She kept just getting these drafts coming across her face, right? And obviously her first response was, is there any windows open in this room? And I'm like, no. And then I eventually go up into the next room, which is up the staircase, and it's a museum bit. I check, windows aren't open, the door's shut in that room, and I'm like, look, of course there's a chance that there's a draft coming in, but she kept just being like, this just keeps like swifting past my face. She's like, I'm not comfortable. Eventually, if I'm right, we do hear knocks and bumps up in the little museum bit. So at that point, everybody was kind of unsettled a wee bit, just because, we were getting consistent kind of experiences in the room. But I mean, yeah, you see it there. Everybody just straight away, boom. And they all clarify that was the wardrobe. And if I'm right, I think Kirsty was like, could you do that again? Could you knock on the wardrobe? And Mirren's like, do not knock on that wardrobe. She's like, if it knocks on that wardrobe, I'm leaving. And then Kirsty was like, you can't leave. like knock on the wardrobe. Give us that. Let us know you're here. Do it again. Based on the bump, it says there's 3.
Nobody
if that was a
to
bump
look
response.
inside the wardrobe.
Just a bat in there. We'll do the next clip and we'll see what there is.
None of the windows are open in here, are they?
Nope.
I keep getting a weird fucking draft across my face and it's freaking me out now, and I don't like it.
It could be a ghostly bat.
It's just farting in my face.
Could have been a ghost farting in her face.
No, she said a ghostly bat.
No, I'm just saying it could have been a
okay.
ghost farting in her face.
But it kind of shows you the kind of like the sort of like tension. I mean, to be fair, you can see at this angle how close Mirren is to that wardrobe. She's not, right, to clarify, when you look at the other angle, she's not close to touch it. She didn't touch it at that point. You can clearly see Mirren sat like this the whole time, just in a wee nice relaxed position in the pitch black. And like you can see like where they are positioned to, so that was very clear to them. That's where that bump happened. You can see here the sort of like trying to get the tension down and make a joke out of it, but Maxine was unsettled enough that eventually she actually moves over and sits where I am, because she's like, nah, I'm not comfortable sitting there anymore. She's like, it sounds like there's noises behind me in the little toilet bit, because behind Maxine's back is where one of like the castle toilets were. Castle toilets back in the day were basically just holes.
Yeah.
Down you go. We'll do the next clip.
Not much of a breeze to it.
No, but it's still that.
So that one, I thought it was weird. There's a weird sort of like breathy thing that happened just in the middle of us all rejiggering and getting ready to move into another spot. Again, I'm not saying that's paranormal. It was just odd because people were having conversations, totally normal. Kirsty's in front of me. Both of us are being quiet. I think it's only Maxine and Mirren talking. And it's just like a that just happens. And when I listened to it, I was like, that's bit weird. Like, again, it's one of those ones, like, I can't say that it's like paranormal. It was just in the context of us all moving to another area, it didn't make sense. There wasn't like a conversation between Maxine and Mirren that went that way. Me and Kirsty are silent. We'll play it one more time. I'll do a hand gesture, just kind of point it out for you again.
Not much of a breeze to it.
No, but they just so much.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's weird. I'm not like, oh my god, it's a ghost. I just thought that was weird. It doesn't make any context. Like, there's no context to why that sound happened. It you know, it's not something mechanical. It's not something wooden. It sounds breathy. Again, me and Kirsty, I'm following up behind Kirsty because I'm usually at the back with the camera. The angles are crap because sometimes you get so bloody tired after like 6 hours of carrying a camera around. So we were at this point, we were just moving. A lot of the time when we used to do a review, we would find that when we were moving from an area to another area to then start another session, you tend to find something would happen during the conversation when you are all talking. Like, we had a bunch of really weird clips at the REI where I remember I made a joke at one point, and do you remember that creepy laugh that I used to get all the time? You remember the creepy laughs? Like, it always happened when I would talk about something slightly funny, and there would just be that weird creepy laugh. And it happened in 2 different hospitals and followed me, and I'm the only guy in the team at that point. None of the lassies are... Yeah, no, like nobody was laughing like that. It was weird as hell, and that was kind of why sometimes when you're walking around, you just leave the camera running. You leave it running. You see what happens. It's weird. I'm not saying it's a ghost. It's just it was just weird. There's no context for it. Mirren and Maxine, you can hear just talking totally normal, and so we'll move on to the next one. Yeah, but like what I was trying to recreate was the pattern, because it shot along here this way, right? Thing is, I see when you were coming past, light was hitting here.
Hold this, I'll try holding it low.
So this is, I talked about this a bunch of times with folk. There was a weird light that happened in the room, and I saw it. For context for people, my camera is sitting on a windowsill, and then to the left by the fireplace on this side is another window. So the windows are like this. There's that tiny window up there that has the wooden beam running up it. Yeah. So no light source can at all get over here. I saw, and it was behind the curtain on the bed, and it shot towards the wall that direction, which is a ball of light, and I saw it outside of my eyes, and I was like, okay. So one of the team members had made a comment and was like, oh, it could have been a light from a car. To point out, this is 4 stories up, and Menzies Castle has it's an old military road that kind of, if the castle's about here, it runs that direction away from the castle. The 2 windows are facing this direction of the road. Physically impossible for the light to have came through these windows and hit the wall in that side of the room. Like, it's just literally physically impossible. And the road is a fair distance away from the actual castle, and the castle has trees that run along the road, and I'm just like, my God, like, you would have had to have, like, I don't even know how you physically would have got that light to have hit that point, other than it somehow refracted off a bunch of, like, you know, shiny objects to hit that point on the wall.
Yeah, it's just very unlikely.
Yeah, so when me and Maxine were trying to, like, figure out what happened, we were like, well, let's try and be logical about this. And I looked at the door and went, I mean, the door is a keyhole. It's right outside at the spiral staircase. Maybe someone came up with a flashlight. Maybe it was that. And I shut the door over. Maxine going up and down, and then she goes, okay, I'll try halfway up my body, I'll go up down the stair, and then she was like, I'll do it above, so I went out and did the same thing, up, low, down, and every single time the light was coming through the keyhole and shining on the bottom where the frame of the bed was. And I was just like, I actually can't even angle that to go up. Like, physically, I can't. Even if I sat down at the bottom of the spiral staircase and shone the flashlight up, it was still hitting the metal of the thing and just coming straight down. There was, like, no light hitting the top. And I was just like, I can't recreate it. Again, I'm not going to be like, hey, that's paranormal. I have had experiences when we did Balrossi where I had caught that weird, what I thought was ball lightning, which is a weird atmospheric thing that happens. People quite often will report this as like being alien activity, and astronomers and stuff like that that deal with like things like weather stations are just like, oh no, there is a thing called ball lightning that just most people don't realize exists, where like electricity will literally combine itself into a ball and move up in the atmosphere and then evaporate. It's weird. And then we had that weird experience in Balrossi where I had left a camera running and there was just this weird blue ball that went like up, and I was like, okay, that's a bit weird. Not ghost though. For me, I was just like that when I thought back on it, I was like, oh, that's what ball light looks like. Whereas this was a white light, and I was just like, right, I can't recreate it. We tried our hardest to recreate it. I couldn't get it done. Two of us different heights. She's 5'2", I'm 5'11" almost. Yeah. Couldn't get it to work. So I can't explain it.
Yeah. You know, I think that's a good thing about our team is when we do come across things, we try everything to recreate it before we turn around and say, well, I can't explain this. Yeah. And there is a possibility that this is paranormal. I mean, you're not saying this is 100% paranormal, but you're saying I can't recreate it.
Yeah. So, I mean, when the team member who wasn't like in that room, obviously when it happened, was like, perhaps it was a light from the road, I was just like, it physically couldn't have been. Like the positioning of the windows, I looked out and I was like, Maxie, I was like, what? I was like, because it was really, really foggy at that point, and I'm like, what's going on out there? Or it was just super dark, and she was like, right below is our cars, and I'm like, right, so that means the road is over there running that way at an angle slightly towards the castle and then away. And I was like, how are you getting the light to come through this window but hitting the wall over here? There's no way. The light had to have come from, if it was a light being shone from the door, there's nothing else in there for that light to have got that on that point. And I was like, and I can't. And then also there's the curtains on the bed, so I don't understand how the light would have got around the curtains on the bed and only illuminated the wall. I was just like, it's weird. So we tried to recreate it, couldn't do it. It is what it is. It's not like, it was a weird experience, nothing scary or anything like that. I was like, okay, that's freaky. Not freaky, but just like, ooh, wild. We have one more clip to play and then we'll just have a chat.
Good doke.
Sean, I'm freezing now, by the way. All that heat's gone.
So there was a bit earlier that I'd marked where Maxine was like, hey, listen, like, I am absolutely boiling hot right now. She's like, to the point I'm sweating. She's like, I've been freezing cold the entire time I've been in this building. She's like, don't get me wrong, there's physical changes that can happen in your body, of course, but she was just like, nah, this is weird. I've been cold the whole time I've been here. Now I'm boiling hot. And then in the time of us doing that experiment where, we're checking stuff, she's like, no, my body temperature's completely dropped now. She's like, I'm freezing cold. And I was just like, I haven't had any change at all. And like how I'm feeling, I'm just like, there's been no temperature difference, but it was kind of colder around the area where she was. And I was like, okay, fair enough. So she was feeling, to her, some sort of like metaphysical change in like temperature. And she was just kind of like, and then obviously she had experiences in the poltergeist room where she was having the cold spots in her face. Yeah. So she had a lot of temperature, like kind of based things happened to her that night. So at that point she was just like, I'm a bit, thingy about this, So yeah. But for evidence for this episode, that's what I found. Obviously it would be amazing if people watched this at home and maybe they'd find their own stuff. But for evidence of what I found, and I mean, I even reviewed obviously the stuff that you guys had filmed. It's all in. There's stuff in the episode from your team. It's a different camera. I couldn't find anything. That it didn't seem like there was any like responses, no voices and stuff. The only two vocal responses I found in the entire episode was the weird whisper at the beginning in the kitchen area, and then the weird whisper that happened when we were all like walking about.
Yeah.
But again, you know, I think our kind of goal as a group is usually try and get audible responses. But this time it was a little bit more relaxed. There wasn't a lot going on, and there wasn't like any like majorly crazy experiences like what I had with it. Sound of what like I thought was like a chair getting dragged across the floor or something like that.
Yeah.
Or the howl, which might have happened actually the same night, possibly. Anyway,
I kind of wish we had the EVP that I had captured with the Tascam. Just because I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, it was actually a Class A EVP.
What would you? So Maxine asked me this one because she was like, I think it's a good idea to get other people's perspectives. What do you class EVPs? How do you categorize them?
So, for me, a Class A EVP is something that you can listen to and you can decipher what is being said, and everybody else is hearing the exact same thing, and everybody is like, yeah, that's definitely what that voice is saying. You know, it's not one of them ones where we are all like, nah, I'm not really making that out.
Yeah.
No, it's not really. It's, you know, there is a voice there. There is a clear vocal noise, but you're not able to make it out. So
for your consideration, a Class A is one that everybody else also undisputed can go, oh no, yeah, I hear what you say.
yeah, like you are hearing a voice. It might be a whispery voice, but you are still able to make out exactly what is being said.
I'm assuming for Class B, it will be like, you know that it's human vocal, but you can't make it
Well,
out.
no, I would say a Class B, you could maybe sort of make it out, but you're not 100% sure because it maybe sounds like other things, and it could be several different things. And maybe some team members might be hearing something different from what you're hearing, a bit like the Lapwing Lodge singing.
Yeah.
None of us would agree on exactly what was being sung or what the song was. Well, some people were in agreement, but they were wrong.
I just like that one, innit?
Just getting that in there. But yeah.
Do you have a Class C?
I would say a Class C would be, yes, there is a voice, but no idea what is being said, but it definitely sounds like a vocal sound, but you can't actually make out what is being said at all.
Yeah. I thought that would be an interesting way just to see what other people's like characterizations are, because there's obviously the kind of like accepted grounds in paranormal research of ABCs, which were you know, those categories were made by other people.
Yeah.
And even still, when you see a lot of evidence from other people, especially TV shows and stuff, you get a lot of this stuff in the way that they categorize it. You're just like, nah. Because I remember one episode of a TV show. I'll just say it was Ghost Adventures, and I thought it was really funny because like I used to really like Ghost Adventures until Zach Bagans got like super into the demonic stuff. And there was this one episode that they filmed in this bar place, and there was a staircase at the side of the bar that went up, but there was a fire exit door, and they got an EVP, and they put like the tag like unaudible because they were saying they couldn't make out. And when I listened to it, it clear as day sounded like someone going, "You guys think you've got everyone fooled, huh?" And I was just like, but it was filmed right at that fire exit door, and I'm like, does a member of the public know that they're filming there? And just went down and it was like, you guys are full of rubbish, man. You guys are talking crap. And they're just like unaudible, and I'm like, that was clear as day to me. Like I could hear 100% what that person was saying. That's not an EVP. That I think that's somebody in the public outside the building shouting and trying to wind you guys up.
Yeah,
like,
but I mean, I think a lot of these things, you know, that Zach Bagans does, he is dramatising it for the views.
Yeah.
I would say he's very animated
Yes.
when
Yeah.
you know they're filming and stuff. As a
we're not
team,
like
we're
that.
never really like that.
Yeah.
When we get a bit of evidence or when we think we've heard something, we're like, that's interesting.
Yeah,
We will need to look back on that.
We used to get really excited, I think, when we first got together as a team because there was a bunch of stuff we'd look at and we're like, holy crap.
Only
like,
when we were reviewing.
Yeah, only
Not-
during the review, yeah.
Not during the actual investigation itself.
Yeah,
During the
yeah.
investigation, nothing really spooked us or
Yeah.
nothing really made us jump up and go, oh my God.
Yeah, it's kind of the worry about taking
Yeah.
folk out is because it's like when you talk about doing paranormal research with folk, you're just like,
They
I
have
wonder
an
what their
expectation
yeah.
because they've been watching
I wonder
Zach
what their
Bagans.
expectation's going to be. And you get folk who'll come out and be like, oh yeah, like nothing happened. And you're just like, yeah, until you go back and review it and then you've got a crystal
Yeah.
clear. Because when we're doing like the answer, the question sessions, as you saw with Kirsty when she did hers, you know, she's asking for a bump response. So
Yeah.
she's going to continue talking and going, 1,
Mm-hmm.
2, 3. But you're trying to give a gap for anything to slip in and boom, she got the response. But when we're doing like questions, what we usually do is try and ask questions and we'll try and give up to like a 30-second gap just of no noise in case something does happen. Because the last
Yeah.
thing you want to be doing is asking questions, be like, so can you tell us your name? What age were you? Because then, you know, if we're trying
Yeah.
to theorize this
You could
and
end up talking over
or maybe
evidence.
I mean, we don't know. Maybe spirits need a second to build up some energy, and they're about to answer your question when you've jumped on another one, and then you're just like, you might hear that response. People go, oh, but that wasn't to that question. And it's like, yeah, because it was actually to that question. If you'd gave enough time,
It would be so cool though if we got a response saying, "Oh my God, shut up and just let me answer the question."
to be fair, it's something we could podcast at some point. It's like, you know, sort of like looking at techniques other people use and what we think about them. But there was one in, I'm not going to mention this one because I actually like the TV show. It's a different TV show. But there's 2 people in it that have this technique of like basically going through ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. So they'll be like first initial of your name, ABC, and they'll go through.
Yeah.
But the way that they do it, it's like doing ABCs. It's like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and then they'll wait for like a knock response. And I'm like, what is that a knock to? Was that a knock to J, or was that or was that a knock to K? Because you gave no gap.
Yeah.
The person's like waiting. Like imagine you're sat there waiting, and you're just like, I'm almost there at J, K, and they're on K already, and you're like, oh
damn, missed
and they're
it.
like, okay, K, and you're like, no, J, and then they're like, second letter, okay, my name's John, O, P,
Yeah.
and they're like, KP, what?
Yeah.
You're a kitchen porter? Like it just didn't make sense when I was watching it. I was just like, why are you going so fast? There's no gap. It'd be different if it was like A, B.
Yeah.
It takes a bit longer, right? Fair enough, but at least you're actually giving time for a response. It just makes no sense. But they just zoom through it, and I'm sat there watching it at home, and I'm like scratching my head, like how can you document this?
I know. Yeah. I mean, see, if we go back to how we review evidence and stuff, like obviously I was saying that our response when at the time when we think, oh, I might have heard something there, but we'll go back and we'll review. Right, if you remember when we did our group reviewing and it was on TV and we were all sitting doing a group review and something happened and how excited we were and we jumped up, we were like, oh my God, did you see that?
I do remember
and we were
that,
freaking out like, oh my God.
Yeah, because we used to get some really
So
weird...
some of the reviewing could be quite fun because although we didn't have that initial excitement at the time that something happened, that excitement then comes when you're like, I have captured something solid.
Yeah.
I've got something there that I can then use.
And there's so much stuff that just... I mean, we've been doing this for nearly a decade that is either gone gone to the wither somewhere, and we don't know where those files are anymore, or B, they're on a hard drive somewhere because unfortunately technology moves on and you have to rebuild your computer.
Yeah.
But we had some really good stuff, and it would be amazing if some point we did like a debrief of not specifically a location, but stuff that we captured that we were like, when we this was the reason why we continued. Because we got some solid stuff back in the day, especially the stuff in the REI. I mean, if we want to go on to haunted places in Paisley, the REI, I think we can all say is haunted.
We were using pretty basic equipment back then as well, and we were just doing the basics and keeping it simple.
Yep.
And stuff was happening. We were getting stuff.
We'll wrap. We'll just mention the lapwing one, and then we'll wrap up, and we'll do like social media links and everything. But yeah, the piece that Zara was talking about, we got a Lapwing Lodge. In the corridor Lapwing Lodge, they have censored lights for the bathroom.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty old camera. It was a Sony disc camera, so it's a little bit laggy. It's not like got a high frame rate like the kind of modern cameras that we use. But the way that we clipped it, because we did this one on TikTok, we discussed on TikTok, was we clipped it where we showcased clearly that a team member had went into the toilet. So you can hear the footsteps coming down the corridor. It's a wooden floor. You can tell the person's went into the toilet and shut the door. The light goes out. But in this time in the corridor, I think Kirsty was doing solo session possibly in one of the bedrooms to right the camera with the door shut. And it's just like the light on the floor for the bathroom, it turns off. Now, rather than it turning off and just going black, the light comes back on. Boom. But instead of it being like a light where it goes off and all the light just instantly goes and then it comes back, it's like shuttered as if someone had was shutting the door. So you see the light just slowly dissipate across the floor.
Yeah.
And then it comes back as if someone had swung the door open and closed.
Yeah.
But the problem is, it's because Lapwing's corridors are in this V shape.
Yeah.
Because we discussed, we did an episode on Lapwing. The toilet's like here. And the camera was pointing here, so you can't see the toilet door because obviously you're trying to cover as much as you can. We weren't expecting the toilet to be anything.
But you would have heard footsteps if there was anybody there.
No footsteps in the corridor.
Nobody was there.
And the way that the light, and I've showed it to other folk, they're just like, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. You'd expect the light to just go black on.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It like shutters and shades out and then reintroduces itself as if someone's went and opened and closed the door. But yeah, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And this was way later in the night, so this wasn't like a follow-up clip of someone being in the toilet.
There wasn't even the potential for a draft to have caused that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's it for the podcast. Thank you for joining me.
No bother.
It's been very interesting. If you would like to follow us on social media, guys, just check us out at WSPR Scotland, or you can find us under West Scotland Paranormal Research. This episode will go live on YouTube and will also go live on Spotify because we've also started doing audio versions on Spotify. Follow us on social media if you like the stuff that we do. Make sure you like and subscribe because, for us to build our our brand and, try and get some sort of we are completely voluntary. We all pay out of pocket to do what we do. It would be excellent if at some point, just from these videos being popular, we'd even be able to get ad revenue. It would be amazing.
Yeah.
We'd be able to afford to do more locations, get better equipment. But yeah, if you like what we do, give us a follow. Check us out. We investigate every single year. We'll have new episodes coming out next year. We'll do even more episodes of the podcast.
Yep.
If it's enjoyed and people enjoy it. So yeah, thank you for watching. I am Sean and this was Max. I'm not allowed to say Margaret.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheerio.
Bye.